Hey guys, SoCal Val here. You are listening to the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast.
Monday Night Raw rolls on. CM Punk and Drew McIntyre cook on the microphone, and Seth Rollins gets a surprising contender for the World Heavyweight Championship. That was Raw in a nutshell, but now we'll get into it in a bit more. Drew McIntyre and CM Punk kicked off Raw in a very personal promo segment. Drew McIntyre was basically indicating that he was surprised CM Punk was still here and that he's going to be the one to eliminate Punk from the Royal Rumble, as Drew McIntyre's put himself in there. Drew was still frustrated from losing to Seth last week. My feelings on this are that Punk will probably enter the Royal Rumble. My guess is between 20 and 30. He could get 18 or something like that, but my guess is about 20 or 30. I can see Drew entering earlier, and I can see Punk eliminating Drew McIntyre on his way to winning the Royal Rumble. This feud is good. I mean, Drew McIntyre has hinted on this that he may leave, which there's an obviously element of truth to that. I honestly think that Drew McIntyre will be in AEW probably this calendar year. I'm not sure. I think his contract was due sort of first, second quarter. WWE may add time onto that for injury. So you might not be looking at Drew leaving for at least another year. But my expectation is that Drew will probably leave to go AEW this when his contract's due, basically. So I can see Punk eliminating him from the Rumble. Their feud will actually be really good. They've started it right with these conversations, but I want to hear from you guys. What do you think about Drew and Punk? What number do you think Punk will draw in the Royal Rumble? Will he eliminate Drew? Will he even eliminate Cody on the way to winning the Royal Rumble? My pick is CM Punk, by the way. Promo segment was really good. Really good to see Punk in that feud. It gives him a nice feud there to get ready for probably winning the Royal Rumble and going on to face probably Seth Rollins. Let's be honest with you on that situation. But yeah, promo was great. I'm interested to get your thoughts on it though. So let us know. Finn Balor and Ciampa had a really good match as well on Raw. Ciampa and Gargano as DIY makes a lot of sense. There's still not a crowd, still ain't there. I'm not sure about Gargano and Ciampa on the main roster. I feel as if they're better off where they were. They had kind of done everything in NXT, which is which is the reason that they probably got moved up. They're just not connecting enough with the crowd, in my opinion. Anyone that takes on the Judgment Day will get a bit more of a reaction than normal, just because people don't like the Judgment Day. But I just don't see the connection there. The NXT crowd were invested in Ciampa and Gargano, both as a team and as a feud. Not happening on Raw at all. Ciampa does pick up the win with Gargano's help on that one. So Ciampa and Gargano probably looking to get a tag team title shot. Interestingly enough, those tag titles kind of been left in the background a little bit at the moment. I feel as if the women's tag titles are taking center stage, which is great, but there's still a title that you can probably use a bit more. I know they had a lot of title sort of shots back end of the year until now. And as I say, the women's tag titles are taking a bit more of a focal point. So that's good. But we'll see on that. Becky Lynch was having an interview with Jackie Redmond. I don't think that match between Becky and Nia is over. The feud between Becky and Nia is over. It was a really good match last week. Myself and Dave was on the show, thoroughly enjoyed it. And it's good that Nia was getting plaudits for the right reasons, because she gets a lot of stick for being unsafe and all of that. So it was good to see Nia getting plaudits where credit was due. I don't think the feud's over. Does Becky win the Royal Rumble? I'm not sure. The women's ones, I think, is a bit more open. The women's one is not as kind of cut and dry as we believe the men's one to be. As I said just now, we're all expecting Punk to win the men's Royal Rumble. The women's one, I don't know. Becky could do it. She could win the Elimination Chamber. So that field is open. So we'll see on that one. Kofi and Vinci had a really good match, actually. Kofi and Vinci, Kofi and Kaiser had a really good match on this one. It was a double count out. Kaiser then drop kicked Kofi's head onto the steps. This has become a bit of a violent one. We know Vinci got injured last week during their tag match, so it was kind of a receipt, I suppose. But this makes for interesting viewing how they're going with this. Really like the more aggressive side to Kaiser and to Kofi to a certain degree, but Kaiser's really becoming something here in WWE, and I hope that when they eventually do say split up Imperium to a degree, I really hope that Kaiser gets a run and a push because he's got something, and I want to see more of it. It was just say they're great to see that more aggressive side to Kaiser. Nia Jax was in the having an interview with Michael Cole, and looking like Nia's going for Rhea Ripley again. Now, I don't think they had their one-on-one. I know it got moved to a six-person at Saudi Arabia. I can't remember if they've had a proper one-on-one match. Maybe they did on Raw after, but it looks like she's going for Rhea Ripley again. Interesting one. I don't see Rhea Ripley losing this one. I think Rhea holds a title till Mania. Whoever wins the Royal Rumble or the Elimination Chamber, depending on the brand that they're on. So whoever goes against Rhea is likely to beat her, I think, at this point for the title. And it would be good. We do like long title reigns, but we also like it when it freshens it up. Same with Roman to a degree. It will be good when he eventually drops, just because the freshen up, it will put a full-time champion on SmackDown, which they haven't had since for a few years now, since Roman's been there. So really, really good idea to freshen that women's up a bit. Still think they need some NXT talent to come up. Are we going to be waiting until the Rumble? We've heard a whisper of a few surprises in the women's Royal Rumble, like we have the men's. One of them has been debunked by particular talent, which sometimes indicates that they're gonna be here, but they were trying to put themselves out of the picture. Promo segment was good though. So we do get Nia and Ripley at some point. Well, Nia did say that she's going to be entering the Royal Rumble and winning that. So Nia Jax, Becky Lynch, could they be the final two? Who knows? Anyway, the Royal Rumble field is really open. So we look forward to seeing what happens with Nia on this. But it was interesting that Rhea did come out during that. So perhaps a match between those two is on the horizon, even if Nia doesn't win the Royal. There was a nice backstage brawl with Nakamura and Cody before Katana Chance and Kaden Carter, Casey gave their rematch to Chelsea and Piper for the women's tag team championships. Quite decent length match on this one. Casey won. Again, not a surprise. I don't know with this. It's a difficult one because there isn't women's tag teams out there, that like proper tag teams. I don't mean that horribly to these guys, but tag teams that have been tag teams outside of the WWE. WWE do a great job of throwing two people together, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. But with the women's tag, I don't know. You guys can again feel free to quote on this. What do you think in terms of the women's tag team division? And is there any women's tag teams actually out there in independence? In America, I don't know. Again, for you American viewers, chance to pop some names down in the comments box or anywhere else that we're on social. So let us know what you think about that. But I'd like to see more proper women's tag teams in that division, especially if it's a division that they want to take seriously. It was good to see this match. It was a solid match, but yeah, interesting to have more your people's views on that. R-Truth was out here with a Judgment Day again. It's still hilariously funny. And then The Miz took on JD McDonough. Miz won that as well. Really good for that to see Miz picking up some wins for a change. Obviously, he's a face now. Judgment Day on a losing run at the minute. They tend to pick it up though later on. So can't really say much about this. It's kind of a mid-card feud, and that's how it's going. It's great to see Awesome Truth together as faces. They were actually played quite an interesting heel version way back when Punk was last in the WWE. And when Triple H was an authority figure then, funnily enough, just more on camera and getting his sort of, I think he was starting to become the authority at that point, but just a face version. They actually had a really good little bit going on as Awesome Truth there. So perhaps Awesome Truth could be the ones that dethrone the Judgment Day for the tag team titles in the future. Don't know when, but that maybe was what they're alluding to here. Then we come to the segment that Seth Rollins was out and he was interrupted by Jinder Mahal. Jinder Mahal was saying about how he was overlooked and everything. And in the end, it ends up with Seth Rollins giving Jinder an opportunity at the WWE Championship next week, which, if you've got social media, you know this has caused absolute stir. Not just because of that, there was a comment that USA Network tweeted out about cage match ratings because of Tony Khan. Tony Khan jumped all over it. It then had Bischoff involved. I I don't know where to say on this. I mean, the match itself will be perfectly fine. Seth Rollins will definitely win that match, no doubt about it. Um, I just don't understand why it all kicked off. I mean, I know USA were being pretty silly themselves by tweeting it out, but Tony Khan kind of has to remember business before this because ultimately, you you know, if they did lose their deal with Warner Brothers Discovery, which it doesn't look like WWE will be on Warner Brothers Discovery, Amazon actually looks to pick up those rights, and we'll talk about that in a bit more detail. We'll talk about that when Andy's back. Because I'd like to get separate views. And again, guys, you feel free to put their views down in the comments about what you feel about, potentially WWE going onto Amazon. And you can have your say on the Tony Khan tweets situation. It got out of hand. I do think, as much as I credit Tony for backing his horse, in AEW, I do think you need to know when to hold them and when to fold them. And USA shouldn't have been as petty as that to do what they did. So I kind of, I just think it was just stupid. But anyway, it took away from the fact that we are going to get Jinder Mahal and Seth Rollins next week for the WWE Championship. And we'll see. I fully expect Seth to win that match next week. Otis and Ivar had a really quick what I would call meat slapper. We know we love this load of big meaty men slapping the shit out of each other. Ivar picks up the victory with an incredible moonsault. Ivar is definitely one to watch this year. I don't know how long Eric's out for now. I know it was quite a serious one, so he's out for a period of time. Without being, horrible here, does he even need Eric now? Does the Viking Raiders at this point go their separate ways? I'm not a fan of splitting up what I would class proper tag teams because these guys have been tag teaming in the Ring of Honor days. So, not a fan of it, but I am a fan of Ivar as a single. So kind of contradicting myself when I say them sort of things. But Ivar, yeah, definitely is one to look out for this year. I'd like to see that. We kind of know where Jey Uso wants to go. He wants a title. And funnily enough, so does Bronson Reed. But Jey Uso definitely wants a singles championship. Looks like they're going to go for Jey Uso could be the one to dethrone Gunter for the Intercontinental title. Gunter returns next week to Monday Night Raw. Judgment Day do defend their titles on Raw next week against Awesome Truth. I'm praying for a title change on that one. But Jey Uso, Bronson Reed. Do I want Jey Uso to dethrone Gunter? The rumors were still that we're going to get the dream match at WrestleMania between Brock and Gunther. Does that need the IC title for it to be big? I don't think it does. So perhaps Jey does knock him off the perch on the Intercontinental, or do they wait for Mania? Do they even have Gunther do both nights and maybe beat Brock and lose to Jey or whatever? I just don't think a match of that magnitude needs a title. Again, guys, who do you think dethrones Gunther for the Intercontinental title? Drop it below. Drop it on our socials. Shinsuke Nakamura and Cody Rhodes had an incredible street fight. Really, really good. There was a part of this where Shinsuke tries to do the mist into Cody. Cody moves and it hits the timekeeper, who accidentally was Cody Rhodes' cousin and the son of Tugboat, Fred Ottman, the Shockmeister. He was Typhoon, he was his son. An interesting point there, thanks to I think it was Sean Ross Sapp who tweeted that. So we will give him the credit that he is due for that. So I think as long as it was Sean Ross Sapp, I could be wrong, and that could have been anyway. One of the guys on the Twitter done X tweeted it. But yeah, really good street fight. Cody picks up the win. Does it dent? This is the problem, and we have this problem quite a few times. Me and Dave have spoken about it about AEW. When you got guys like Nakamura who they've just really kind of utilized correctly, but he's losing the big matches. Does that discredit Nakamura? I don't know. I think it was too late for WWE to do anything with Nakamura anyway. This is the Nakamura, I've said it week and week and week and week that this is the Nakamura that I've wanted to see for so long. However, I do feel as if it was too late, and him losing to Cody isn't going to help. Cody now will go to the Rumble, I would assume. What's next for Cody? I suppose we'll have to wait until maybe next week. We'll find out more. But it is Rumble season. We're not far away from the Royal Rumble. We are actually two weeks away from the Royal Rumble. I can't wait for that. Guys, this has been the Raw review. Really good Raw. 8 out of 10. Not as good as last week, but not bad either. 8 out of 10 Raw. Guys, we'll be back with interviews. We've got Chase Anthony coming up from the UK independent scene. We've got Dynamite reviews. We've got SmackDown reviews. We've got Collision reviews. Battle of the Belts. Rampage review as well. That's been a bit delayed. The Raw one was a bit delayed because we wasn't sure if Andy was going to make it on the show, but he's settling into his new place. So we've got to give him a bit of time to get him settled. But he will be back either on the SmackDown review or next week, guys. Check us out on X, on HTT Buckle. Check us out on Instagram, everywhere else, Hitting the Turnbuckle Podcast. Smash that subscribe button on YouTube for all the videos. Some more interviews will be dropping. I had a chaotic interview with CPF that will be dropping at some point. We have one of the best British women's wrestlers coming on in a few weeks in Alex Windsor. We've got NWA stars coming on as well. Check us out across all social medias. Also, big shout out to our sponsors, Taylor James, LA Taylor, Adonis Payne, the Crimson Killshot Artemis, and a Luna Blue. And also check out Ignite Wrestling Pro. Show is coming up February the 4th. Less than 30 tickets remain. Stack card, including our Turnbuckle Championship on the line when our champion, Smashing Mike, defends against the debuting Eddie Dennis. Guys, that wraps up the Raw review. Keep it on locked on all our socials for some more announcements as we happen. But until next time, everybody, buckle down and stay safe.